Well, if any of you know me on social media or Discord, I haven't been able to announce it on YouTube yet, but this is what's left of Tree Frog Jeep after I tried to take her to town. And needless to say, she started knocking like crazy and lost all oil pressure. So I'm gonna walk you through the time lapse, kind of what we had to do to get to this point. Now, yes, fenders off, grills off, exhausts off, intakes off, and quite a lot really, but it's going to make a lot more sense once we show you in the video. So I hope you all enjoy.
So in this first part of the video, you see me, and this is my father actually helped me out here. We're opted to take a lot of the front clip, if not everything off. The fenders themselves, aftermarket, I can put a link in the description if you all want to. Those came off with literally 8 bolts. You see me getting on the vehicle there. There was one master bolt. Pops, he undid the rods up top to keep the radiator and grill from rolling forward and backward. And there's one master on the bottom that I took out, which once those are relieved, then we can take the wiring harness that goes from the driver's side under through and passenger side out, and you see me taking the turn signals out there in order to get access to some of the harness, which when we snaked out, we had to drain the coolant, of course, because we just opted to take the radiator and everything out as one unit. Now, you see there's a little trim piece that goes in front that protects the brake line. Had to remove that, but there you see, easy enough. Grill came out, radiator came out, all was one. There, Pops and I, we were kind of discussing who's going to tackle what. I opted to start doing the brackets. He said we're going to have to do the power steering lines eventually, so he decided to tackle those, and he was in for a bit of a fight. Most of the video, he's actually straining to get those. Me, I'm working on the sides, taking the alternator bracket off and the alternator itself, and all the electrical connections and vacuum lines that are unneeded. There, I believe I held up a vacuum block on the side. He's still working at those power steering lines that go to the power steering box itself, and God, it was a mess. He literally spent about half the video messing with those, and there I am, just working away, undoing all the vacuum lines that are unnecessary, tucking away the wiring harness, and as you can see, Pops is still working on those. Now, I did end up having to do the starter at some point in the video. You might see it a little bit later. We had to take a little lunch break there. Then Pops decided he was gonna try tackling a little of a different issue, which was the fan. You can see my mother right there in the grey sweatshirt. She decided to see how you were doing. But yeah, that's how we were going about it. I was working on the power steering pump itself. It's a very weird one, how it came off and how it slides. But once we figured out how it worked, as you can see us two describing how it went, then there was me working on the side there, undoing some electrical connections and whatnot. And I was also working on some of the transmission linkages that were working. Now, originally I was just going to leave it to block intake and exhaust altogether, but then I decided it'd be better off. There I go, underneath there, going for the starter. You can see my foot hardly twitch. And there's Pops. He decided to take on the transmission linkage. That was a pain in the butt, to say all things. And I opted to say, you know what, we're going to have to take this thing out, and why not? So I decided to take the carburetor off, which is a Weber cutter. Pops was showing off his little hammer he's had to use. And there I go. I'm taking apart the carburetor off from the intake. He's still working underneath the Jeep for the transmission linkage and all that. Me, I'm just working on the intake, which with how these 4.2 inline 6s are, they're actually bolted, pinched together with the exhaust. So you have to take the intake off in order to get the exhaust off. Unlike, say, a normal inline 6 or even a 4-cylinder that they're individual. There, somebody had put in a Delrin, I think it was, some sort of hard material that you have to literally chisel off, as you saw. There I go, I'm working on the intake. I was very fortunate that none of the bolts had broken off. They all actually came out easily, even though this engine's from 1990. And there's Pops, he's still messing with that transmission mount underneath, which he eventually gets it. And when he does, he feels very relieved. Myself, I'm working away on the intake. I had to really fiddle around with a flex wobble socket and a 14mm, I believe it was, for all of them. But I was very fortunate they all came apart. There, Pops was helping me get the intake off, which found out right there. The intake had a bit of a hang up with one of the pins. Then Pops was there. He was looking about things, seeing what was going on, and there he saw me. I moved the fuel out of the way. Then I handed off the exhaust there, which once you take the intake off, it's only a couple bolts, and there you go. It's pretty much down to a bare block minus the other side.
Well, at the end of the day, this is what we resulted in. Fenders, grill, well, you've seen the video at this point. So, this is Time Around Jack, hoping that you stuck around to the end, saying cook 'em, hook 'em, book 'em, and see you all in the next adventure. Peace.